Okay, today we're going to be talking about the financial side, as I said earlier. We're going to be talking about the authority for recording fees received, handling various types of payments received, and making deposits and your remittance of your collections. And as I said, I know there's quite a few people in here with experience, so as I go through this, if you have something that you want to say or that you think that would help a new person, please, by all means, jump in there and say something. Somebody nodding their head going, please. Okay. It's through statute that you receive your authority to charge fees. You can't just make them up out of thin air and say, I don't have enough money to run my office, so I'm going to start charging this fee. That isn't the way it works. There may be specific fees per statute that you are required to charge, or there might be an ordinance that needs to be passed. These statutes on your slide are where you'll find your authority to charge your various recorders' fees. IC 36-2-7-10 lists most of the various fees. IC 36-2-7-10.1 deals with bulk copies, and we'll get into what these mean and everything here in a little bit. And IC 5-14-3-8 deals with enhanced access fees. Now, one thing I do want to stress to you is that most of you have, is there anybody here that doesn't have an electronic system? I'm sure everybody does have an electronic system. But the vendors are there to help you. They are very helpful. The thing is that when it comes to the fees being right, it's not their responsibility. It is your responsibility. So especially if you're new to the office, I would want to get together with my vendor and find out, okay, how are these fees charged and how are they really comparing with the statute authority? Before we go over the fees, let's talk about what are the acceptable types of payments you can take. You'll find that I refer to the code a lot because just about everything that you do, there might be some management decisions that you have to make, but your authority is given to you through statute. So that's what I'm going to be doing, is referring to these statutes that give you the abilities that you have. IC 36-1-8-11, it allows for you to accept payments in the form of cash, checks, debit and credit cards, money orders, electronic funds transfers or EFTs, and other financial instruments. And this is the kicker, as approved by the county council. And that is the key here. The only office that gets to make its own decision as to what forms of payment that they accept is the treasurer's office. Otherwise, it is as the county council has determined. However, you should have some input because you need to run your office as effectively and efficiently as you think is appropriate. So by all means, if your method is not current, or the method that you would like is not currently being accepted, get together the information of the pros and cons and everything and go to your county council so that maybe they will decide that that would be an acceptable method of payment. What about accounts receivable? We get asked this all the time. Our audit position is you are to collect when a service is provided. As a public official, you are to collect the amounts the statute states you shall collect. If not, we will report that you are not in compliance and money's not collected at your term's end may become your personal responsibility. So that's one of the reasons that we're like, if you decide to do accounts receivable, we just do not recommend that. There are a lot of problems that are involved trying to, now you become a collection agent. It's just something that we do not recommend. And again, you could become personally responsible for any of the amounts not collected. What about escrow accounts? Escrow accounts do allow you to make sure that you have money when you're providing the service. And I know there's a lot of mortgage companies out there that they either want to kind of front you some money, or they, have asked for a lot of filings, and then they're like, oh, we gave you too much money, well, just keep it and apply it to my account the next time. This is your decision whether you want to do that or not. But just beware that if you decide to do something like that, that you need to have good records, a good accounting system in place to do that. Because first of all, your clients out there are going to say, you mean you don't know how much I gave you? That's not a good thing. And as auditors, that is something that if you are holding escrow accounts, we will expect that you have good accountability for those funds. Something else to keep in mind is that per IC 36-2-11-6, excess payments that exceed $3 shall be refunded at the request of the person filing the document, but up to $3 may be kept by you as an administrative fee. And again, that's a may, it's not a have to. It's up to you. That's okay. IC 36-2-11-6. So, making deposits. IC 5-13-6-1 is known as the daily deposit law. It requires the deposit of funds not later than the next business day after the receipt of funds. So it's very important to remember. We do have quite a few write-ups, especially when people are a little newer, thinking, I'm trying to get these records together and I want to kind of maintain my checks. And no, you want to deposit on a daily basis. You need to file within the next business day. Yes?
On behalf of the county, I'm asking this question. They have a setup where it's a courtesy from a bank, where the bank would come to the recorder's office, pick up the deposit, take it to the bank, and bring it back the next day. I question whether they're, one, protected under the bond, and two, is the bank bonded for them to be doing that? So I suggested that they stop that until they got it cleared whether that was acceptable or not.
Right. Okay. That money, the money you collect, is your responsibility. And when you release it to someone else, you better make sure that there is some kind of an agreement and that there's some kind of receipting process involved in that. I don't know of, actually yours, I remember we talked over the phone about this. I don't know of too many offices that would feel the need to ever do this. There are some places that collect a great deal of money, and so they will contract with some place like Brinks to come in and get the cash. And if you are collecting an unusual amount of money for a particular day, you might feel the need to contact your county sheriff and say, could you walk over with me to the bank or something? There are alternatives to having the bank, and I'm sure the bank thought that they were doing a good service, But the point of the matter is that who knows? Once you've released that money, and if you don't have the proper banking receipts that they avail you to when you go in and you deposit the money, that money could disappear, and you're the one who's going to be responsible for it. So I think that is something very good to bring up. I know when I got the phone call, I was like, So, yes, yes. So those good instincts, very good instincts. And that is something about your office that you need to remember. If something's telling you that this doesn't feel right to me, that, you know, even if your predecessor had been doing it for 100 years, if it doesn't feel right, investigate it. Figure out, see what the authority was that they were doing, whatever it was that they were doing. Chances are very good that it was fine, what they were doing. But sometimes it might have been a convenience factor that they felt comfortable taking that risk about that you shouldn't feel comfortable about. Okay. Also, under this code, it requires, and as Tammy pointed out, I think that everybody except for a couple of offices do have their own bank accounts, but you must reconcile at least monthly with your bank statements. I think you know that that's just good common sense, but this statute does make it a requirement, and there are actual penalties if you don't, but we also understand that sometimes there's issues that it might take a little bit of time to get that reconcilement under control. And one thing I will say here too is that there are two things to preventing fraud, and fraud does occur in the county, and it can happen to you. I won't go into, we had a nice presentation on that earlier in the year, and I'm not going to go into a lot of it, but the two things that you can do when it comes to your banking to prevent any fraud there is, one, get that relationship going with your depository. Tell them things like if you see, because as recorders, the only things that should really be coming out of your bank is the month, each month you will be giving a check over to the auditor, and you might have some refunds going on. So really there shouldn't be a lot of activity as far as expenditure out of that account, and there definitely should be for, I'm going to say, you know, not for like $40,000, $50,000 at a shot or something like that, unless that's something that you would collect on a monthly basis. So you can talk to your depository and kind of give them a heads up that if there's some kind of unusual transactions like money going to Russia, which we have had that, by the way, that no, they need to call you up first. So that's just something to be aware of. And the other thing that you do is do timely reconcilements. Yes?
Just a question about the daily deposit. You said it has to be done the next day, and I assume that if it's on Friday, Monday's okay?
The next business day, correct. Yes. But you also have to make sure that you have a secure place for your money while it's in your office. You know, yes.
So as the recorder, can I bring the money over to the bank? Can I take in the money for recordings? Can I do all of these things myself as the recorder?
Well, you should have good segregation of duties. However, what I'm going to say to you is, as the elected official, you are responsible. And if there's anything that comes up missing or whatever, you take part responsibility. Obviously, if somebody is stealing out of your office, there's issues going on, but there are some places where it's only a two-person office in the recorders. And so obviously you're not going to have the most perfect segregation of duties. But as the elected official, you're ultimately going to be the responsible party. So you need to make sure that you have the controls in place that you feel comfortable with. Okay? The other thing that I mentioned was that you will be issuing a check or transferring money, however that it's done in your particular county, but you will be handing this over to the county auditor and treasurer. We'll get into the specifics about how you'll do that, but we consider timely within 10 business days after the year or the month end. So just so you kind of have that, that way you can do your reconcilement or whatever that you need to get done. Let's see. The other thing to keep in mind, especially for those of you that are really new, your transaction account must be with a designated depository. This means that the financial institution meets certain criteria, such as that state funds can be deposited there, and it has to be designated by your local county board of finance. And that county board of finance is made up of your commissioners and your treasurer. So you really, the treasurer is the person that you need to contact to make sure that whatever depository you're using is a designated local depository. And you also really want to talk with your county treasurer as far as any investment policies are concerned, because they have to make sure that a certain number of depositories are used, and if for some reason the prior recorder had been the split between the depositories and you're going to change, they need to be aware of that to make sure that their split between the depositories is appropriate. So, okay. Let's go ahead and go over the fee schedule. What we've done here is we have not what you might see in your office as something that's posted, but we've gone through the IC code and brought out all of the various fees that your office charges. And on this fee schedule, you're going to see the IC code referenced, the type of fee, and the amount, as well as what fund that it will eventually end up in. Well, I'll kind of go over each statutory fee. If anybody has any comments that they want to make, please pipe up about it. Otherwise, I'm just going to pretty much go over it from a statutory standpoint. Let's see here. First thing that I want you to be aware of is the first ones that we'll be looking at are under IC 36-2-7-10, which we referred to earlier. And this is known as the code for the county recorder's fees. This section of the code starts out by saying that the county recorder shall tax and collect the fees prescribed by this section for recording, filing, copying, and other services the recorder renders, and shall pay them into the county treasury at the end of each calendar month, which we discussed. The fees prescribed and collected under this section supersede all other recording fees required by law to be charged for services rendered by the county recorder. The authority of the fees are listed under IC 36-2-7-10, 1 through 13. subsections 1 and 2, B, subsections 1 and 2 provide for the amount of a fee to be charged for recording a document based on the size of the document. And you can see on the first line that the first page of a document to be recorded that is 8.5 by 14 or smaller, the fee is $6. And if it's larger than 8.5 by 14, then it would be $15. And then line 2 shows that for each additional page that is 8.5 by 14 or smaller, the fee is $2. And for each additional page that is greater than the 8.5 by 14, it's $5. And all of these fees go into the general fund. Yes?
Okay, I'm confused now because I thought the first page was $12.
This is just one of the fees that goes into that $12.
Right. And that's what I'm doing here is I'm just going to go by what the statute says. I think this afternoon, your association, there's many ways that you can post these fees. It is required by law that these fees under subsection B be posted in your office. However, they might be a combination. And we'll see as you get down under, like for deeds, there are several different fees that go into recording a deed, but there's one additional fee that is specific when you have a deed. So what you're posting up there, I guess maybe for the convenience of your clients, is that you don't have posted, well, I record this page 1 and I'm going to charge you this much and this much for page 2, and oh, by the way, if it's a deed, here's, you know, the next fee I'm going to charge. What I'm going to do is, if it's a deed, I'm going to show you the different charges that could occur. Am I incorrect in how that you would normally do that? Okay. So, and I apologize for the confusion, but I do think that it's very important that you also understand and have available to you. And it is an IC code, but I will tell you, when I look and read through that IC code with all the little verbiage that it has along with it, I'm going, okay, this means one page, $2. Oh no, now I've got to add the. So we thought that it would be nice to have just kind of a fee schedule that you could just look at a glance and see this information. So, okay, under subsection B3, which is your third line, this is the amount for attesting to the release, partial release, or assignment of any mortgage, judgment, lien, or oil and gas lease contained on a multiple transaction document. And after the original recording fees, the fee for each transaction after the first would be the fees required under subsection B1 and subsection B4, which is the next line item that we talk about, which is cross-referencing, and plus $1 for marginal assignments and releases. And again, these fees will go into your general fund. On line 4, we're talking about cross-referencing a document, and the amount charged for this is $1, and it goes into the general fund. Line 5 talks about copying of records, because before we were talking about recording, now we're talking about copying, and again, it goes by the size of the document. 8.5 by 14 or smaller is $1 per page. Larger is $2 per page. And this money goes into the Recorder's Perpetuation Fund. This is a fund that's really central to your office. Some council think it is the only fund for your office, unfortunately. So I'm gonna go over that fund for you just a little bit here. Under IC 36-2-7-10D, it is required that a Recorder's Records Perpetuation Fund be established. And we have that notated on your on your fee schedule as RPF. The county recorder may use any money in this fund without appropriation for the preservation of records and the improvement of record-keeping systems and equipment. Money from the fund may not be deposited or transferred into the county general fund, and it does not revert to the general fund at the end of the fiscal year. So it is important that you note that this is different than most funds in that it does not require an appropriation. It is also yes? Sure. It's IC 36-2-7-10 subsection D. Okay? It's also important to note that it's restricted as to its uses. It's to be used for the preservation of records and improvement of your record-keeping system. You're going to say, well, that's really all that my office does, so, you know, I should be able to go ahead and use that. Not so. That you know that record keeping is a major function of your office, but say your duties, there's oversight of your employees, there's accounting functions that you perform. So not everything that you do is really related to record keeping. So that's why that you can't just pull all your money out of the perpetuation fund. I know that sometimes this is a struggle at budget time with your county council, and all that you can do is show them this IC code that this is what the money's to be used for, and document that you've done that, because that is it's not really a safe harbor, because I can't guarantee what would happen during an audit or anything, but at least it shows that you know what that money can be spent and used for, and that you have informed the county council about this. And your association might have some more words of wisdom this afternoon if they're going to talk about that. I don't know. They might be just you're on your own. So. Getting back to the fee schedule, acknowledging or certifying a document, there's a fee for that, and it's $5 that goes into the general fund. Line 7 refers to each deed recorded and requires that in addition to the other fees, that $5 be charged, which goes to the surveyor's corner perpetuation fund. And again, that's what I'm talking about. On your listing, you might have deed, but it might not be $5. It might have everything combined in there. Line 8 refers to charging a fee that is authorized under IC 5-14-3-8 for fax transmittal. The statute under IC 5 used to allow specifically for an actual fee to be charged for this, and that was repealed. There's still a section under IC 5-14-3 that talks about fees and fax transmittal. However, you can't include personnel costs, and you can't include any indirect costs. And when you think about transmitting a fax, really what else is there? So that's why what we have here that is not really applicable to you. Line 9 allows for a fee and an amount authorized by an ordinance adopted by the legislative body for duplicating a computer tape, disc, optical disc, microfilm, or similar media. The fee cannot cover making a handwritten copy or a photocopy. You already have a fee for the photocopying. And this fee collected will go into the recorder's perpetuation fund. And again, the amount is by ordinance. Line 10, this is a supplemental fee that is charged for recording a document, and it's in addition to your other fees, and that's for $3, and that goes to the Recorder's Perpetuation Fund. And as you can see, that's probably why that the council likes to hit on the Perpetuation Fund a lot, because you do collect quite a bit of money for that. Line 11, this is $3 for each mortgage on real estate recorded and is in addition to other recording fees again. 50 cents of this goes to the Recorder's Perpetuation Fund, and $2.50 will be sent by your county auditors to the state of Indiana. Line 12, this applies in a county only if there's at least one unit in the county that is established an affordable housing fund under IC 5-20-5-15.5. If this is done, and this is the way that you'll know about it, if this is done, then the county council may adopt an ordinance authorizing a fee. If so, then for each document the recorder records, the recorder charges a fee of $2.50 for the first page and $1 for each additional page. And then there's an allocation that goes into where it's 60% will remain with the county and 40% will go to the state. Line 13 is for Marion County only, and this is very, very similar to the fee that we just talked about. I don't think we have Marion County in here, so we don't need to talk about it. And that's on the back side. Let's see. Next, we'll move on to IC 36-2-7-10B to IC 36-2-7-10C. And this allows a $2 county identification security protection fee for recording or filing a document. $1 of this goes to the Perpetuation Fund. 50 cents goes to the Identification Security Protection Fund, and 50 cents goes to the County Elected Officials Training Fund. First, let me make a comment about the County Election Officials Training Fund. This fund is not well funded. It's got a small amount, as you can see, 50 cents goes in there, and it's shared. This is not yours. Even though you'd like it, it's not yours. It is shared with the auditors and treasurers, the surveyors, and the clerks now. So there's quite a few people that are involved with using this, and it's up to the county council how that it's utilized. I will say that I think that this is going to be looked at in the future. The AIC has talked about looking at it for some other funding sources, but I just want to let you know that this is not like, oh, I've collected all of this, and then you go to the county council and they're like, yeah, but we gave it all to the auditor. That's their decision. So just to let you know that. Let's talk about the Identification Security Protection Fund, because this is another fund that you'll potentially be utilizing. Under IC 36-2-7.5, it talks about recording documents containing Social Security numbers. The statute has requirements about documents that are submitted to you not containing Social Security numbers unless they're required by law. It also provides, to the extent practical and is permitted by law, the recorder may not disclose a recorded or filed document until the recorder has searched the document for a Social Security number and, to the extent practical, redacted any Social Security numbers using redacting technology. So to pay for this redacting technology, the Identification Security Protection Fee was passed, and a fund was established where the fee was to be put into it. The fund is restricted so that the recorder may only use money in the fund to purchase, upgrade, implement, or maintain redaction technology used in the recorder's office. And this fund is appropriated by the county council. And I think what's happened is after the initial purchase of the technology, this money has been building up in some of the funds. And so as a result of this, because it is again restricted into its uses, beginning July 1 of 2011, so this was fairly recent, instead of putting the full $2 into it, it was split 3 ways, with $1 going to the perpetuation fund, which gives you more freedom in how to use the money. 50 cents goes to the identification security fund. There could be upgrades with that, and 50 cents goes to the county elected officials training fund. The next fee, which is authorized under IC 36-2-7-10.1, is for 7 cents a page. That goes to the Recorder's Perpetuation Fund, and this is for bulk copies. Bulk copies are defined under this particular statute, again IC 36-2-7-10.1, and it says that a bulk form means 1, a copy of all recorded documents received by the county recorder for recording in a calendar day, week, month, or year. Number 2, the indices for finding, retrieving, and viewing all recorded documents received by the county recorder for recording in a calendar day, week, month, or year, or both. Are you going to be talking about this afternoon, a little bit, or? I don't. Okay. So I think that IC code really does spell it out. Yes.
Well, so we're not going to talk about that this afternoon because I have a question regarding that.
Well, then go ahead and ask, and if I can't answer, we've got plenty of experienced people who can.
The question that I have, because it's 7 cents bulk fee for copies, and why could I offer that to title companies? Why don't they just do the 7 cents instead of $1 a page? If they're willing to purchase either the full day or the full week or the full month.
You can offer it,
Why would you want to
but you
have
wouldn't really want to.
Because your dollar a page goes into your perpetuation fund.
I
You're losing
understand that.
money.
Yeah.
It's all about the money.
Well, and to run an office, you do need money. I mean, and this is something that the legislators have passed these different fees because they recognize the importance of maintaining records and making these records available to the public. So.
And then how would somebody get the bulk copies? Do they just carry in like a flash drive or something?
No.
You have to.
Tammy,
I'm
I think
asking.
I can try to cover this for you in a little bit.
Okay. Good. Okay, thank you. One thing with the 7 cents, and it is covered under this also, is that an additional cent, if the actual costs are a little bit more, because it does depend on the form and everything, it could be a little bit more, you can charge an additional 1 cent. So, but that's under that IC code. And finally, under IC 5-14-3-3, -8, H and 1, it talks about the enhanced access fee, and that again is by ordinance. And that particular one again will the amount you'll have to go and talk with your counsel to find out about how much the ordinance is for that. So I'm looking, is Rebecca, you're Rebecca, aren't you? Okay, because I am eating into your time a little bit. So what I want to do is just real quickly, those are the fees. If you've got questions, I'll be here for the rest of the day. And your association, I'm sure, will go ahead and talk with you about it. You'll notice also that I gave you a report of collections. And the report of collections, I have right next to it, I'll have like line 1, 2, 3, 4. It will kind of guide you into what different funds that the money has to be split up into. This is your responsibility to give it to the auditor's office. The auditor's office is not going to know what you've collected for what fund. So you need to be able to give that information to them when you turn that money over monthly. So I think that this will help guide you a little bit. I've gone over my time just a little bit, so I would like to turn you over to Rebecca Longfellow. She is from the Secretary of State's office, and this is an office that you will be doing business with. They're there to help you, and I think she'll kind of help you divide up a little bit about what her office does, what she can and can't help you with, and give you some very good information. So let's